Kev, to kick this one to you, what are your overall thoughts of the Colts essentially just getting dominated by the Patriots in Week 9?
Well, I'm going to start this with, I told you so. I'm going to start this with, I've been saying this for 3 years, maybe even 4. I'm going to preview this with, firing Marcus Brady was not the answer. Firing our offensive coordinator that didn't even call the plays made no sense. The fact that our offensive line coach was not fired, beyond me. The fact that Jim Irsay refuses to comment after our third straight loss, absolutely comical. And the fact that every single Colts beat writer, sports reporter, and radio broadcaster has interviewed Frank a multitude of times this year for some quotes that I'd like you guys to hear. So, Nate Adkins, a Colts beat reporter, asked Frank Reich whether or not they would consider another quarterback change. He said he needs time to decide on that one. I'm going to pin that. I'm going to come back to that because this list is pretty endless, right? So then you go through the rest of the quotes. I certainly did not anticipate today. I really did not. Guess who said that? Frank Reich. Don't know how you don't anticipate a team when you're scheming for them all week. But again, that's just the cream of the crop here, right? So it just continues to persist. So basically, another reporter noted that Indy has been outscored 111-42 in the first half of this season. They haven't led in a game since Christmas of last year. It is November 6th of 2022. We're almost a full year into not being able to lead a game. So we'll just continue to go with that, right? So we'll just kind of carry on here as I scroll through. Frank, asked by Angela Moraine, another Colts writer. Frank is not going to, she asks about the reasons why we lost. And his response, I'm not going to put this on the O-line. I just have to believe that we'll get it figured out. Now, the quotes kind of persist and persist and persist. So I'm just going to, like I said, pin it there, and we're going to elaborate on the first one. A quarterback change isn't going to save anything. This offensive line is absolute dog shit. Highest paid offensive line. We have Quentin Nelson, a $20 million left guard, just getting absolutely embarrassed and just getting beat on one-on-one coverage to the point where he ends up on his knees and the pass rush gets to Sam. He was sacked 9 times today. So just let that simmer, right? So when you go and you ask why we lost, I don't know. It sure as shit wasn't because of the defense, because in the fourth quarter, it was 16-3 at one point, and that's only because the defense was able to keep us in the game as long as they did. As time progressed, the Patriots defense was able to continue to accumulate sacks. They forced a pick six, yada, yada, yada. We all know how the story goes from there, right? Then you go and you preview, I did not anticipate today. Now, I've been saying that Frank Reich is one of the most ill-prepared, ill-advised, worst head coaches in the league. People laughed at me. People told me that it's because of the quarterback changes. People told me it's because of the owner, the personnel, the fact that the Colts aren't ready to do it. I've heard everything. Kyle and I have gotten into discussion and debates as friends about Frank Reich. I'm being too harsh. I'm being too cruel. Kev, you're not being fair. You have to look at it from a bigger picture. It's not easy to coach, right? All these different things. I will now say I told you so to my partner and to the world because I've been saying this for years. People say, you got to be understanding. You got to be open-minded. It's not all on the coach. Frank isn't out there playing. He can't make these things happen. Wrong. When you're a head coach, you are the leader of a team. You're the leader of 53 men on this organization, on this roster. And this is what you're putting out week in and week out. We get embarrassed by Jacksonville, left on a donut. We go into Foxborough, we score 3 points. You go and throw your second-year quarterback into a situation in which you're not prepared for, because that's essentially what he said. I didn't anticipate this. How do you not anticipate this? Now I'm starting to wake up because I'm starting to be able to express my emotions because I was moving today, I wasn't able to really watch the game at all. I watched one defensive and one offensive series in the fourth quarter, and that's all I got to see. Didn't want to see anymore. Thank God I didn't watch anything else. We have progressively gotten worse as the season has gone on. And Kyle, I just want to pan the camera to you really quick because I want you to read the numbers because my phone is obviously the reason we're recording. I want you to read that tweet that I had sent you and read the statistics of how bad our offense is. If you could do me that favor, please.
Okay, so I have the tweet right here. So the Colts offense entering Week 9. So offensively, they're dead last. Essentially, that's just their offensive rating compared to the rest of the league. They're in last place. Fumbles. They have 21 fumbles this year. Opening drive points, 0. First quarter points. They have 10 points this year. I believe that's second to last place. Oh, and by the way, for the opening drive points and the fumbles, the Colts are in last place in those two specific categories. Points per game, they are third worst in the NFL with 16 points per game. Uh, Sacks allowed, they are at 16. 16 point. Oh, wait, I take that back. 26 sacks as a unit. They are tied for 30th. I believe that's third worst in the NFL.
Yep.
They have 9 interceptions as a team, which is tied for 30th, which is the third worst in the league. Looking at their rush yards per game, mind you, last year they had Jonathan Taylor, who went absolutely buck wild last year. This year they're averaging 87.8 yards per game, which is fourth worst in the NFL. And then on a fourth down conversion percentage, they are 2 of 7, which is essentially fourth to last place, I should say, in that regard. And not only that, Kev, when it came to third down conversions against the Patriots today, they didn't convert a single one. So that's not going to help out their third down conversion rate either. I'll kick it back to you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that. So let me just close this out with saying you're not prepared. You don't know your personnel. You don't know how to play call. You fire the wrong person, and we're 3-5-1 with a top 10 overall defense. We're wasting the careers of Darius Leonard, Julian Blackmon, Jonathan Taylor, so many other good young pieces. Zaire Franklin is coming out this year and showing that he is a starting linebacker on any team outside of Bobby Okereke again, or Okereke, excuse me for my mispronunciation. And I'm fed up. I'm over it. I'm done with it. I have told Kyle this personally, and I've said it jokingly a multitude of times as the games have progressed. My fandom is on the line. I have supported this team for as long as I can remember. I am 28 years old, going on 29 in July. I have supported the Colts basically since early middle school, maybe even like almost after kindergarten. Like I've always been a Colts fan for as long as I can remember. It's always been the horseshoe. Wins, losses. I've been there for the Curtis Painter years. I was there for the Andrew Luck being injured years. I was there for Andrew getting beat up. I was there for the intermediate years with Matt Hasselbeck and freaking we had Josh Freeman at one point and Josh Johnson and so many just carousel quarterbacks. I've had enough. It's not the fact that the team is bad. It's not the fact that we're struggling. It's not the fact that we can't score. It's the fact that this team is run by Jim Irsay and the fact that we have allowed this man to coach this team for as long as he has. That's Frank Reich. His job is the hottest of the hottest of hot seats. I know what I just said, and I mean that to the T. If Frank Reich is not fired before the end of this season, the Colts will have lost probably one of their most dedicated fans in their history. And that's a big task, but I know damn near everything about this organization, and I followed it, and I'm almost getting emotional because I don't want to leave, but I can't support a team that will not see the biggest problem in the room and not get rid of it. It's like having an infestation in your house because you have food on the floor and you won't clean up the food. So the bugs are just going to keep coming in. That's the closest analogy. Or that your house stinks because your dog took a shit in your living room and you're not willing to clean up that shit. That is the epitome of the Colts right now. Frank Reich is literally one of the biggest problems. The offensive line is playing horrible. The offense is playing horrible. The quarterback situation is not the greatest, but again, between play calling, inconsistencies, and leadership, I've had enough. He has to go. I don't give a shit if you let our special teams coach and Bubba, I forget his last name, but if he used to be the Patriots special teams coordinator as well as a Patriots player. I believe that somebody needs to take the keys from him. He needs to be kicked out of the facility, banned. He needs to be ran out of Indianapolis. I'm not saying his family's bad or anything. I'm being drastic and dramatic, of course, but this team is not this bad. They're being led by a moron. He needs to go. Kyle, I've had enough. The countdown begins now. Week 10 starts after tomorrow's game. If Frank is not fired before week 17, I will be in the free agent market for a sports team. I'm done.
Kev, so I'll kind of look at it from this perspective because I watched the game. I watched the entirety of the game. And look, I mean, I've been open to the idea of letting things play out with Frank, seeing how the season progresses, and then kind of making a judgment call after a certain time has passed and whether or not that he should Stay or go. Kev, we're basically 10 weeks into the season. He's got to go. That was an atrocious performance from the coaching staff today, and he leads that coaching staff. To me, I'm with you. He's got to go. And it's not going to be this week. It's probably going to be a couple weeks down the line, maybe a month and a half down the line. But the way that this team looks with the Colts, this defense, they had a camera shot of the defensive personnel on the sideline at the end of the game against the Patriots, and they looked absolutely broken. They looked disheartened. They looked like they just got ran over by a truck.